This is the Effing Business Podcast. You ask the questions, we answer.
In 2001, they said, hey, we're going to have flying cars, and why we don't have them now?
Okay, so here's the problem. Investing in infrastructure is really expensive.
Trillions.
Okay, so that's why you see things happen quickly. But like, you didn't go from not having internet in homes to having smartphones. You went from having dial-up to right. You went to dial-up. Okay.
Do you remember getting a CD in Blockbuster?
In Blockbuster?
They still had in Blockbuster like
I
a
don't
huge
remember that.
stack.
I remember my father having a lot of the CDs, but I don't remember.
Because why you got like the first month free?
What?
Cheap ass.
Then it goes from like to DSL, and then every like computers just having modems. You remember, like, does your computer have a modem? Remember, ask me that question.
Or do you have like an external modem?
Right. So like getting from pre-internet to smartphones is a huge jump.
I remember when my school had T1, and it was like literally like fire.
And like people said, like, "Oh, we have T1," and you're like, "You didn't know what it was," but like, "Yeah, that's awesome."
T1 was like literally, it was so fast. You clicked it, and like a minute later, the page clicked up.
I'm not gonna lie. My brother-in-law is like, at the time, I guess, was kind of like a tech geek, but before like being a tech geek.
And he had DSL, the first one.
I went to his house and he showed me like how quickly his page loaded, and I didn't think it loaded that quickly, but he was like blown away by it. Right? He's like, "Wow, look how quickly this is
like,
loading."
Yeah.
And, like, I didn't want to like upset him, so I'm like, "Yeah, that's so fast," but like it's still like when the entire page, like each section of the page is like slowly populating as opposed.
Yeah, when it loaded the first part.
Yeah, you know, like, and he's like, "Well, look how fast it was." And compared to like regular internet, it was fast.
So
but
from that's the thing, is infrastructure will cost trillions, and it's not just infrastructure, it's culture. Think about it, like flying cars. So now, like, do we have buildings that are higher that cars can park on elevated levels? Are there stores on elevated levels? Are we now living in the clouds? Like, you're talking about cultural changes.
There's
that is not just the car.
There also needs to be a need, right? Like, it's cool to have these things, but if there's no demand for it and it's not actually changing,
if it doesn't go faster and it's paying the fuel, like, look at why isn't Tesla like exploding everywhere? It's basically free to drive, right? Like, it's super cheap to just fill it up, right? Like, why aren't they?
I'm lost. What do you mean?
Like, why aren't they exploding everywhere? Like, why?
Why aren't electric cars?
Yeah, electric cars beyond Tesla, but like in general, like Hyundai Sonatas are everywhere because they put them on the market for super cheap and
they're easy to produce.
They're easy to produce and they explode.
Quality cars for their
exactly,
price.
and they built it everywhere because there was a need for that kind of car.
Yeah,
and the infrastructure was there. You need gas, you go to a gas station. When you need to fill up, where are you going to go? Go plug into a wall? You have to find some place, and there's not the infrastructure there for.
To that end, it's impressive how much Tesla's been able to accomplish in such a short time.
Because they create their infrastructure. Like if you go on the Florida Turnpike, at certain rest stops, they have Tesla supercharger places. They have to create that.
But they also bleed cash like nobody's business.
Correct. It's an infrastructure plus need, and that's why.
That's why Uber is so successful, because they've taken everyone else's infrastructure and built on that. Yeah, like they didn't have to go out there and buy a bunch of taxis.
They hacked culture, saw the need, filled it very quickly with an app. They created the infrastructure. They didn't need anything else to create the infrastructure. They took what existed and created an infrastructure.
Exactly. Airbnb is the same.
Exactly. Created infrastructure. Like Google didn't create the internet, but basically they are the internet now.
This is actually an argument like communication companies.
Apple didn't create the phone. Right?
Are we going to like name everybody who didn't create something now? Like,
Sony didn't create the camera, and whoever put these lights here didn't create light. See?
For you guys, which do you feel has been more valuable to the growth of your business? Is it intelligence or common sense?
I think everything's common sense. I think everyone overthinks everything. Going over every variable and every single last part of every decision and everything they do, by the time you make the decision, it's over. Like you thought it too long, and now that train is left, and now you gotta wait for the next train. And guess what? The next train has a whole bunch of different other variables.
90% of your day is common sense, but there are times where you have to solve problems, and that's where problem solving comes in. I think
but problem solving,
you don't always have to problem solve.
Right, no, 100%. But problem solving isn't like a long thought out process.
No. It is for people who aren't used to problem solving. You get better at problem solving when you have problems to solve. So like, it's hard to problem solve the first time, but after 1,000 of them, they become second nature to you.
And they become almost common sense.
Correct. To you, which isn't common to everyone else. It's a skill you learn how to problem solve.
Fair. But you have to have some intelligence, I don't know about genius level. You just have to have some type of higher thinking.
Higher thinking.
Yeah, like a thought process, the higher thinking thought process.
What do you mean by that?
Because I think like if you just think like very like surface level, you're not
Is
able
it higher thinking, or you're not bound by
certain like
a belief system?
Like this is the belief today, and it stays that way for all time. Like if you're not bound by that, like it makes problem solving a lot easier. Because
you're not seeing it through that lens.
Exactly. That's the problem people do. Like they put out fire A, it's going to put out fire B, C, D, E, F, and G.
She says whenever she fails, she doesn't fail for a very long time after that failure.
Who says this?
Serena Williams.
She doesn't have long time failure?
Yes.
So here's the thing. There's two kind of people when it deals with how they deal with failure. There's people that remember it and like run away from anything close to it, right? And then there's people who learn, forget, and move on, right? Like they learned their lesson, don't stick my finger in the fire, and move on. But like they may still build a fire, just I'm not gonna stick my hand in it, right? Like they've learned that lesson and they move on. Like,
you never like.
I actually think I have an issue. I think my brain actually wipes out failure. Like I won't remember actual failures, like small details where successes. I'll remember every single detail. But the failure, like I'll remember, that fucking sucked.
I agree that you have issues. I don't know about this specific.
But like
one.
I forget completely because it doesn't stop me from doing the next thing.
I don't think people in general remember their failures as much as people say they do, because you move on. You have to eat the next morning. You have to use the restroom. You take a shower. Your life moves on. So maybe some people move slower than others.
There's a lot of people, Aaron. A lot of people, failure stops them from trying again. A lot. Why people after accidents, like car accidents, getting a car accident, a lot of people you find like they're very scared to drive again.
But is that
why?
Is that a failure? Or
yes, they're scared they're going to fail again and get into an accident. That was the ultimate failure. I got into an accident. That they caused it. Not like I got fender bendered.
They're afraid of getting in a car, or they're afraid of
driving.
Control and driving.
Control and driving, yes.
So like I remember speaking to somebody who got into a very bad accident.
They caused it?
I don't think so. I don't remember. But he told me that he had a hard time being a passenger, but if he was driving, he was okay.
That was probably
it was like a life-threatening accident.
That was probably the scenario. He was the passenger. He wasn't in control. That was maybe his thought of process of failure. I should have been driving. I should have taken control. But I've known people who were the driver and were terrified.
For somebody who doesn't remember his failures, he seems to know a lot about how failure works.
I don't remember. I never got into an accident. Another reason failure kills people is because they think people are judging them on it. They're fucking failures. Like, fuck you. Who are you to judge me? Like, that's the thing. Like, that's my fail, not yours. So, like, you have your own. Deal with them, buddy. They're my failures. I've done wrong things, but they're mine. They've grown me. They've built me to where I am today, and I'll be better the next time.
So maybe there are two different kinds of or multiple kinds of failures.
100%, I think.
So like when you get into a car accident and your life flashes before you, or you're critically injured for a long time and all that happens, that might be different than starting a business and it not working out. You know what I mean? Like,
I guess like there's different variances of failure and different lessons you learn from each one. With failing in a business or getting in driving a car and putting it into a pole because you drink or whatever. Like there's different failures you can judge yourself on. But I'm saying like you judge yourself, right? But people are judging themselves because of what other people may think of them on it. Right? Like math test, you fail. Whose F is it? Is it Joey's or is it Aaron's?
oh, it's mine for sure.
Right. But like they think, oh, Joey knows about it. I'm a fucking failure. And they get harder on themselves. They think, oh, I'm an idiot. They think I'm a stupid ass. Like they don't even know what grade you got.
You experienced it a lot, huh?
I did. I sucked at school. That's sort of why like I know what it is like to fail because I did it my whole life. Like
No comment.
I failed plenty of tests. And so have you.
Nope. Not taking tests doesn't mean I failed. Wasn't there that day.
That's the thing. Like, I think that's one thing I definitely got out of school. Like, getting used to failure definitely helped me prepare for entrepreneur world, being not okay, but moving past failure a lot faster, not dwelling on it for 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. People dwell on these things for a long time.
I think part of the problem is people see success as temporary. They don't understand that it's a constant, right? So they think that what they're going to do is they're going to go and succeed, and that's going to push them and propel them forward.
Right, you think it's one move.
And now that's where they're going to be the rest of their life. But they don't understand that even if that happens, to stay where they are and to get to the next level.
It's a constant battle.
Correct. So you can fail and succeed so many times while still moving up.
There's no ownership to success. You can only pay rent.
That's why I think Verizon or AOL's CEO, I think it's Tim Armstrong. I heard an interview with him and he was explaining how it's okay to fail, but you have to fail forward. And I think that's one of the things that we unconsciously did. We failed a lot, but we failed in the right direction so that the next time we went at it, there was more success. And we took
the good parts.
the light within the failure and expounded on that.
100%.